could have given up, but you didn't. You could have stopped believing, but you didn't. You could have kept living their expectations, but you decided to make this life your own. And in turn, you're here. Hello, everyone. Today we're meeting Joe Rosario. He is a writer, producer, and director in New York City. He also played as an actor in multiple TV shows and movies. Hi, Joe. Thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure. My pleasure for being here. Thank you for asking.
Thank you. All right, we're just going to start by diving into your personal story of becoming the person you are today.
Wow.
Tell us, yeah, that would be interesting to hear. Tell us what got you into acting and producing.
Acting, it was it was totally by accident. They were filming a commercial in a restaurant that I had, and the director of the commercial came up to me afterwards and gave me the line, I'm working on something. I think you would be really right for it. It's nothing crazy you have to worry about, that blah, 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 blah. I'm going to give you a call, etc. And I was like, yeah, that's really going to happen. Right. A month later, it happened.
Oh, wow.
And he was with Comedy Central, and they were doing a promo commercial for Comedy Central. And he did call up, and he had me come into the office, and they got me on camera doing stuff, and they hired me. And that's what started. And when I was on the set, it's really like a domino effect in a way. When I was on the set, there was 5 other actors there. We were playing firemen. And of course, they're everyone's like, who sent you? Who's your agent? That thing. And I'm like, well, I don't have an agent. The director there sent me in. And one guy was like, oh, you should get a hold of my agent. They'll love you. And it gives me the number. And I call the agent up. And I'm like, hi. I go, I'm a friend of so-and-so. I met him on the Comedy Central. She's like, oh, come in. Her name was Rita. And that's how that started. So it was just like one thing after another.
Wow. Yeah. Like a domino effect, like you said.
Without a doubt. And what happens is once you start getting into the thick of it, you start getting to knowing the business a little bit more, and you start getting to know the dynamics of it. And then you start taking lessons, and you start, finding out things, and little by little you grow, but you got to put in the work. And I realized that once I start, it's not that easy, but I liked it. And to me, as long as you like something and you enjoy doing what you're doing, I think that's what motivates you to go ahead. So that's how the acting part started. Sure.
Wow. Yeah. And I've seen you personally in multiple TV shows. One of the best ones, Sopranos.
Thank you.
Yeah. And how about the producing role that you're playing, I think currently right now? How has that came about in your life?
Well, one thing, when I was on sets, whether a movie set or a TV show or whatever, I was very intrigued. I used to hang out where the director was and the camera guys, and I was very intrigued with what they were doing and how they were doing it. So I got very much involved in that aspect of the business of directing and everything that goes with it. So little by little, you find out that the best way to kind of break into what you're doing that way is to write your own material and actually direct your first short, something that's very short. Right. And that's what I did. I wrote something that was basically about a half hour, 30 minutes, 30 pages. We shot it in 2 weekends, basically, and we winged it. And it ended up being really good. We ended up going into festivals, and it won a lot of awards. So that's what started that. And little by little, you expand on that. You find projects, but a lot of it is stuff that you end up working on yourself. And writing came very naturally to me. It's just one of those things, I think, that with people that write, either it comes naturally or it doesn't. It's not really something that you you can learn in school. It's kind of something that kind of comes out of you naturally, rhythm, dialogue, etc. And so since that was a natural thing for me, I ended up writing a bunch of stuff and still do to this day. So that's what got me going there. So being on the other side of the camera, I think,
Mhm.
is more enjoyable for me right now than the acting side of it.
Yes, yes. Both of them are creative kind of endeavors, but I feel like for you right now, being a producer and director fits you better,
Without a
right?
doubt. Yeah, totally,
Yeah.
without a doubt. And, a producer at the end of the day is really like the general contractor on a house,
Mm-hmm.
brings
Yeah.
everyone together, gets it all together, finds everything, and makes sure that house gets built on time. And so that's kind of exciting too, to kind
Mm-hmm.
of like start at the bottom of the creative process and see it bloom into, what you want it to
Right.
be.
Right. Yeah, that is very exciting. And let me ask you this. How does it feel for you to be the director of the first ever off-Broadway production of Cat on a Hat and Roof?
The power went to my head. Well, it's interesting because on the directorial side,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of an interesting job because you're dealing with a bunch of actors that have their own issues, let's say,
Yeah.
whether they're egos or whatever. So you have to kind of play in that playground, I call it. But at
Mhm.
the same time, you need to kind of see that your vision comes through for what you want to do. Um,
Yeah.
so it's tough because there are times where you have to really put your foot down and be very bossy about it. There's ways of
Mhm.
doing it, of course, but there's also times when you're going to get resistance. So you got to kind of
Right.
how to maneuver that a little bit
Mhm.
to get in there. But if you stay true to your vision and what you want to do, eventually it all comes into place. So it's a great place to be. You've got to have a strong stomach for it, without a doubt.
Mhm.
Every day is a headache. Every day something new pops up, but at the end, when you finally have opening night, then you can like relax and take a deep breath and say, "Oh wow, all
Mhm.
that hard work is now paying off." Hopefully,
Right.
but being a
Yeah,
first is the best because
of
it's
course.
bragging rights. It's like, oh, by the way, did you know?
Yeah, and I'm excited to see your next production in February 2023.
We have a
I'll
ticket for
put
you,
that.
that's for sure.
Yeah, we'll put the information for those who would like to see the show, and the tickets are available online.
Yeah.
So it will be in description of the episode. So let me know, Joel, how was that journey for you in terms of developing your character? Would you say that you kind of like got through the lessons where it taught you to be stronger? Is there anything that you would share with others, some kind of lesson that you got out of your personal journey that would help them to also get through some kind of difficult circumstances?
Don't be afraid of criticism.
Mhm.
Okay. If someone criticizes your work or comments on your work, don't take it as if they hate you. You absorb it, try to understand it, and take away from it what is going to help you. That to me, I think is very, very important. You can't be tied down to something. For example, these actors, they go on an audition, they don't get the audition, and right away, they like, oh, you just got to say, went in there, did my best job. If I didn't get this one, I will get the next one, and
Mhm.
kind of try to figure it out why. It's a business of rejection at the end of the day. There's a
Mhm.
small amount that actually make it in as a working professionally actor. There's a small amount that make it as a script writer. It's all small amount compared to the people that attempt it. They have these contests, these festivals where you submit your work. For a
Right.
typical script, you'll have 5,000 people enter, like it
Mhm.
was nothing, and they pick maybe 3 people out of that. So the odds are big, but you can't get you can't be let down. I think the best thing that you got to do is
Mhm.
don't let the rejection get to you. Move ahead, be positive in what you do. Always try to improve yourself. There's always room for improvement. You're never
Right.
100%. Never. I don't buy that for 1 minute. You can be
Mhm.
close to it, but I think
Mhm.
there's always something else. There's always and listen. listen to the people around you, listen to the people talking to you. Not all criticism is great. That's going to help you. But at the same time, bad criticism also helps you because you're like, they're wrong. And you know it. So
Right.
just have an open mind. And at the end of the day, you got to enjoy what you do. If you're not getting any joy out of it, what's the use of doing it?
Yeah, for sure. And what do you think is important for people to kind of be mindful of when they feel like being unfulfilled or stuck and probably their careers that they don't like, or they thinking about exploring other avenues out there, but they feel kind of scared, I guess. And what could be the advice for them to still, take chances and take that risk?
Fear is not a good thing because if you fear what you do, it's going to show, especially in acting, in directing, in any of those things. The camera doesn't lie. So that's number one. You got to throw the fear away. It's not a business where fear has any room. Just like if you want to be a surgeon, you can't fear anything. It takes someone with a lot of guts to cut somebody up,
Right.
and hope that that person's not going to die on the operating room. You want a guy that's going to go in there and like almost have an attitude like, hey, I can get this done with no problem, instead of someone's like, oh, do I do this, do I do that? So it's kind of the same thing. You can't let fear dictate what you want to do. Look, there are times where I think I've known a lot of actors where they kind of second guess what they're doing. And the one question I ask them is, if you weren't doing this, what else would you do? What else?
Right.
And they would say, nothing nothing would make me as happy as this. And then they're like, well, you got to stick with it. If they answer, well, I like doing this, I wouldn't mind doing this, then I would say, you know what, take a little time off and try the other stuff, see where you are a few months down the line. And maybe acting isn't for you, or directing isn't for you, or something in the arts isn't for you, but maybe you like being, an entrepreneur someplace else, or doing this someplace else. So, I mean, again, it all boils down to the love of what you're doing. If you don't love what you're doing 1,000%, then yeah, I would say try something else. But don't let the fear to me is an excuse.
Right.
It's an easy way out.
Yeah, I also agree with you. I feel like there is no room for fear. We still need to explore our excitement for something, desire. What is it that we are leaning towards? What is it that brings us joy in life? And we have to kind of pursue that route, and don't let fear be the obstacle for it.
No, can't dictate what you're doing. And you said it beautifully. What brings out the joy in you? And that's the importance of it all.
Yeah, I think that's the purpose of doing anything, pretty much, to feel that joy. So you have to let yourself be in that place where you can experience it fully.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. So also I wanted to ask you, is there, some kind of advice for people who are looking to be mentored? For example, if they're starting new as actors and they searching for, somebody who could provide them advice or how to gain experience in that kind of area to proceed further and gain the needed credentials, I guess, and to build their career in that direction.
It's funny. During the summer, when we had the first production of Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, I attended this afternoon show, and I noticed 4 students walking out, young people, and I stopped them and I said, I got to ask you a question. I go, what'd you think of the show? And they started talking to me, and they were very excited. They were like, "Oh, we loved it." And I said, "I'm asking you because I'm interested to see how this show affected a younger person, who's never seen the play, who probably never read the play, because the thing came out in the 1950s, way before they were born."
Mhm.
So we started this rapport, and one of them goes to me, "Do you mind if I have your email? If I have a question about something." I was like, "Sure." So what happens? All four of them, we now are in contact with one another when they have an issue with, because they're all acting students. When they have
Mhm.
an issue with something, they'll email me real quick. "Joe, if you
Mhm.
have some time, what do you think of this?" One of them emailed me last week about I need a good monologue for my college exam.
Mhm.
What could you suggest?
Right.
So all you got to do is ask. That's
True.
all you have to do is ask. If there's someone that you know that you respect and has done stuff that is respectable and admirable, and you find and you put them in a certain place, all you have to do is say, "Do you mind if I talk to you about something? Do you mind if I ask you a question? Do you mind?" And that's how you get a mentor. And someone takes an
Yeah.
interest in you, and they find that they find that you're willing and charming, and you want to learn. I think the
Mhm.
thing is that you want to learn. I like actually giving advice to people
Mhm.
um, that are new, that need advice. I mean, I just got a really good friend of mine. It's really interesting, who's a producer, uh,
Mhm.
very well respected, very smart guy. Has done a bunch of stuff, has written a bunch of books. He sends me his new book, and he
Mhm.
goes, "Do you mind uh, looking it over for me?" He asked,
Wow.
and I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "And if
Mhm.
you have anything, just make notes.
Mhm.
Any criticism of it, or you want to change something that needs to be changed." I was like, "Sure, my pleasure. All you got to do is ask."
Yeah, it's we kind of like underestimate the simple act of asking for help and asking for advice. For some reason, we create this walls between us and other people, and we make it hard for ourselves. But in the end, it's just up to us. If
It
you
totally
really,
is.
yeah, and I find it very interesting to see how, people kind of making excuses for why they're not getting or doing what they're doing. Yeah, but it's always
It's easy to
something.
make the excuses, though, right? It's always someone
Right.
else's fault.
Always. Yeah, I think if we would just start, taking responsibilities for what we
Well,
have in life
yeah.
and how we got here, then we would understand more and, take probably better decisions in life.
Well, I think also too, a lot of people believe the hype that they hear. You
Hmm.
know, this person, made it. They got discovered in some store, something like that, and
Yeah.
that's never the case. That is never ever the case.
Mhm.
99% of the time, the person got where they got because of very hard work, and they've been doing it for a long time. Everyone thinks, these people, these stars, let's say,
Yeah.
uh, just happened like this. Little do they know that
Mhm.
they've been working at it for 20 years. And
True.
then finally they come into a place where it happens. But it just doesn't happen like that. It never happens like that.
Yeah, it's usually from the outside, people watching you and they think it's overnight success.
Yeah.
Or-
And they also believe, what they hear on all these crazy shows like Access Hollywood and everything else,
Yeah.
because it's all, they have to make a living, so they need to sell something exciting, and that's what they do.
Yeah, that's true. But we all know that it takes time and effort, dedication, and you have to be committed to a certain goal that you're trying to achieve, whether in your career and personal life. So, and it's again, it will take some time, but you have to kind of believe in yourself and in the process, and you will get there.
No, yeah. As long as you stick with the program, and you, like you said, believe in yourself and love what you're doing, and just say to yourself, it's not going to be an easy ride, but when it's over, it's going to be very fulfilling.
Yes, yes, it's all worth it in the end.
Although,
Yeah,
unfortunately, in today's world, everybody wants stuff quick.
I
you know
know.
this is quick, you watch TV, you get to see all 10 episodes all at once. There was a time when you would watch a show and you have to wait the week after to see it, and the week after that to see the next one, and so on. But everyone wants it quick, everyone wants it now, and in a way, that's fun, but I think in a way it raises expectations for a lot of people in the wrong way, where they don't want to put in the work. They want this to happen now.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, right now it's kind of like very challenging, especially with the pandemic. And I feel like a lot of people kind of reevaluate and, what's happening and what's important in their life and what should I focus on.
Right.
Sometimes like this, it gives us extra push, or I guess, not the reason to think about our lives in a more serious way.
It's true. It's very true. The
Yeah.
pandemic really changed a lot of things, I think.
Yeah. But I'm glad that the theater is back and we're gonna
Yeah.
see your show, and that
I'm
that
glad
will
too.
never end. Yeah, art never ends,
No, you're right. It survives. It always survives for some reason.
Yeah, and there is a reason to it.
Well, I think it nourishes your soul, it nourishes your
course.
mind, it nourishes your eyes. Whether you like it or not, you could say, I'm not into art, but everywhere you go, I mean, even looking at a billboard, a sign, that's some form of art.
Yes.
They don't realize that certain colors were picked out to attract you, certain dialogue was picked out so you look at it. Same thing with a commercial or anything like that, a book cover. Everything is picked out for a specific reason, so your eye just goes to it, and it's an art.
Yeah, it's the way we see the world and the beauty in the world.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right, Joe, thank you for joining us today. It
My
was a
pleasure.
pleasure talking to you. And
Same here.
thank you.
It was good meeting you. Take care.
I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you did, hit the subscribe button and share it with others. Stay tuned.